All right, Ian, we got do some voicemails.
Yeah, let's do a couple voicemails.
A couple, more than a couple. First, we're gonna. I forgot to mention something last week, which was amusing. I even wrote down a note for it. Remember the two punks, one pod.
Yeah,
they had two comments. This was their last comment that I got annoyed at.
Hey, Pat and Ian, this is Brian from Two Punks, One Pod at Anchor FM. My question for you is, would you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
So the Two Punks, One Pod podcast, they'd left 3 or 4 messages since we started doing this. And so, I gave them a chance. I was like, I'm going to look these guys up. They got some punkiness, that they're going to be bold. They had a historic run of only, I'm not trying to put these guys down, just put this perspective. They had a historic run, Ian, of 4 podcast episodes back in December. And then they quit, apparently. So they couldn't capitalize, I guess, on all this fame they got from calling into our podcast hotline.
Podcasting is not the hardest work, but it's not also like just sit down and talk. You got to have some idea.
Some just sit down and talk. That's why no one cares about them.
Yeah.
You have to have. I mean, Ian no longer thinks this is just a hobby, thankfully. But at one point, you sit down and just talk. But you got to be prepared. You got to know what you're talking about. You got to be interesting, maybe.
You can even sit down and just talk, but yes, you have to be interesting. You have to be able to carry a conversation.
Two punks, one pod. Hey, you guys can't quit. You got to get back up on that horse, buddies.
Get on that horse.
Come on. We're not doing this forever. We need to hand this off to the next generation at some point. Come on. Let's do it.
Hey, Pat and Ian. This is Ryan from Detroit. I wrote this little song for Ian. Your own Jerry, little Joker, Jesus. Someone to sit and stare. First he wasn't there. Your own Jerry, little Joker, Jesus.
Very nice.
Someone with kind of long hair, who the fuck cares? You're a little Joker, Jesus.
Okay.
That's a very, very good implementation
that's
of Personal Jesus by Depeche Mode.
That also sounds like something that would Zack Snyder would play over a slow-mo shot of guys walking up to the last mission there in the movie. And that'll show up in the zombie fucking movie that Zack Snyder's doing.
Very good, sir.
Okay, what is next here?
Hey, Pat and Ian, really enjoy the podcast. I'm in the Navy and I'm on a submarine, so whenever I'm not on watch, I enjoy listening to the podcast. One question I have, what would be the rules for a drinking game while listening to the CU podcast?
James, I don't like you nodding off on a nuclear sud, first of all. My taxpayer dollars demand you to be awake. That's tough being on a sub. I've heard it's tough.
I've heard it's difficult.
It's a certain type of person can not go crazy on a sub. You're enclosed, obviously. There's not a lot of free room. So a drinking game would, I guess, I don't know, times we say stuff or I hit a button or me saying it's been a while.
Yeah, I think...
Or certain idiosyncratic conversational things we say.
I think anytime an audio cue gets used, you would have to take a shot.
I love how people leave comments sometimes, and there might be someone left a message that makes fun of going back to the well on certain sayings we do, but that's normal conversation. You go back to things.
It's what people do.
Yeah.
It's how language works. You rely on...
Like saying like a term like at the end of the day or something. Oh, making fun of Ian for saying...
Here's the thing.
Or here's the thing. That's how we speak. That's how people talk in general. So.
But I think you could do a shot anytime either one of us says, here's the thing.
You say that a lot more than me.
Anytime there's an audio cue. That's true, but I noticed, I think it was last week or the week before, that you said it quite a few times in the beginning.
Yeah,
yes.
So you rubbed off on me. Not literally. Thankfully.
Anytime Pat starts a segment with Ian.
Well, that's you'd be dead.
You would.
That's now a trademark. Okay, next.
Hi, Pat and Ian. This is Cody from Toronto, Canada. I was wondering if you think Nintendo will do anything else with the Zelda franchise for this year aside from Skyward Sword. Maybe something similar to Mario 3D All-Stars. Also, what is your favorite Zelda game? Thanks for the great show, guys.
I'm not getting into Zelda conversation again. I'm done with the Zelda game conversation. But yes, you know what my favorite one is, sir.
Hi, Cody. I love Toronto. I think Nintendo will have to do something else this year. Yes, I do think it'll probably be a 3D collection. Or at least, yes, there will be something. But I do think a 3D collection is potentially likely. My favorite Zelda, it comes down to two of them. It's either Zelda 2 or Link's Awakening on the Game Boy.
But we're already past the date, though. So, I mean, it coincides so close to the Super Mario. I don't know. I was bullish before, and now I'm like, I don't know. When they get announced, I guess they can say like maybe for the fall,
or they'll announce the new Breath of the Wild
more likely
as being released by Christmas,
yes.
And then you can say, okay, that came out on the 35th anniversary of
Zelda. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking they can do the Game & Watch and make money because they sold all those, and they can do a 3D collection. You know, they could do that of a few games easily. There's so many to choose from, but I don't know now. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise me. Nintendo, though, they're secretive. They're secretive. All right, what's the next one here?
Hello, my name is David, originally from Delaware. I was just playing through Super Hot on PS Now, and it's a really fun game, but it really didn't seem like it would have been worth it to pay more than $10, $15 for. I was just wondering how much your perception of what is worth $10 has changed since, Xbox Arcade originally came out and PS3. Thank you for the show, and I hope you can get some pork roll out there.
The value!
Oh, thanks for mentioning pork roll. I was going to mention because Delaware is one of the 4 states where you have pork roll. 4 or 5 states.
So I really liked Super Hot, and I bought it at I think it was the release price or the full price of $19.99 on Steam. Really fun game. But I do think that people's perception of value has changed a lot since we've started to see these online stores. Xbox Live Arcade started out, and Xbox Live Arcade started where most of the releases were. So in the early days of it, it didn't even list a price amount. There was points. You had to buy points that you could use to purchase games on Xbox Live Arcade. It was 400 points equated out to, I think, $5. 800 points equated out to 10, and you had to buy your points in chunks. So you always ended up with leftover points. That was their way of getting you to put more money in and keep you buying.
I still have a 360 card unopened. I can't use it anymore, I don't think. Card.
No, I don't believe you can.
Damn it. That's how they get you.
So initially, early on, Xbox Live Arcade, I want to say, was probably the first big console digital marketplace. And they weren't putting, big games on there. This was before, things really kind of moved to digital purchasing. It really was these smaller games.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of indie games, and as more people started to make stuff for it, the prices started to go up. Games stopped being $5. They started being, more closer to the 800 points to $10. But I think the Xbox Live Arcade model did, unfortunately, condition a lot of people to look at a whole genre of games, indie games, largely 2D games or smaller, more focused games, and make them think, this is only worth $10 or this is only worth $20. And I understand money is not infinite. People need to make informed decisions. They need to, buy the stuff that you want to buy. I am okay with, I always try to look at it from the point of view, how much fun am I getting out of this? Am I getting an equal to or larger amount of fun out of this game than I would, say, a AAA title that's selling for $60? And if I am, I really don't care what the price is. I mean, if I really like a game, chances are likely that I'm going to pay just about whatever for it. So it does actually make me happy to see some indie game developers charging $29.99, $39.99 for their games, because if the game is good, it's going to stand up to that price. It's going to be worth it. So I am not like trying to come at you, but I do think Super Hot was worth whatever I paid for it. I don't believe it was on sale or anything like that. I really enjoyed it. You might not have, and I get it, but I think this devaluation of games is not in general a good thing.
For new games, for sure. Because obviously for the old games, on like good old games, well, the games have been around for 25, 30 years. It doesn't matter as much.
That's different.
Those are games, those are games that used to cost $50. Now you can get for $3 now. That's different. Because those games have been out for 30 years. What's a good standard bear? Like Untitled Goose Games, like $20. I think that's a fine. You probably make the argument if it's a great game, it should be more money. If you're getting a lot of enjoyment out of it, but it's not a super long game, right?
No.
But it's a great game. I never played it, but like it's getting rave reviews, and it's original, unique, and obviously it's not a huge AAA title. But yeah, it's up to obviously it's up to what the dev or publisher thinks they could get for it. And now keep in mind, the publishers lose 30%.
Yeah.
It's not a first party game. The publishers lose 30%. They're not getting all that money. Unless you want to get the Epic Games Store, you get a little more nowadays. But so yeah, I don't know. It's something I think about myself. If I ever did my game or a game, what I would price it at. You know, what's a fair price? Do you make sure people buy it so you go less money, or maybe hey, this is what I think it's worth. It's like pricing the book. You know, it's like if I price it at $80 or $40, or you got to settle on something. You got to settle on a sweet spot.
If someone releases a game for very cheap, I'm thankful and I buy it. I think $19.99 is at this point probably the accepted average for an indie style game.
So that you expect between $10 and $30 first.
So I think $19.99 is the average. However, like I said, there are lots of games that I have purchased and really enjoyed, and I would have gladly paid more for them.
Sure, it comes down. It's like to me, it's like okay. Going back to when we went to the movie theaters, it cost you $18 to go to the movie before for a 2-hour experience. You're not most of the games you're playing for more than 2 hours. You're going back to, so that's the way I always equate to it. And plus, going back to inflation,
Sure.
Games have been $60 forever. $60 is not worth what it used to be. It's a lot less. That's what I mean. All right, what's next here?
Hello, Pat and Ian. This is Karen from PA. I've just opened an eHarmony account, and the checkboxes for hobbies don't seem to include video games. They've got TV and pottery and architecture, but not video games. Are they deliberately deterring people from putting it on their profiles like it's a negative trait? And is this a stigma against gamers thing, or is it a social class thing?
Hi, Karen.
Hey, Karen. What's going on? Karen,
Nice to hear from you.
Karen's so great writer, very sweet person. Guys,
hope to see you again soon.
Karen's a catch here, first of all. But I don't know. I've seen that gaming has more of a categorical thing nowadays. eHarmony is probably behind the times, not putting that as an interest, like it's the 1980s. I don't know.
I think specifically if you're looking at eHarmony, eHarmony is supposed to be a very adult, very buttoned
traditional
up, sort of traditional dating site.
Huh.
No, I mean, I hate to say it, Karen, but I do think that's probably it. They don't want that sort of. They don't want that out in the open. From what I've heard, eHarmony is one of those places where if you put you're not religious, basically, they either they boot you out. They don't boot you out, but you find yourself getting considerably
an algorithm hit,
considerably less returns.
Okay,
so I do think I think that is an eHarmony problem. They want to be looked at as a very adult, fancy, not fancy, but traditional sort of dating site.
I feel totally guilty. Now I just remembered. Karen, I hope you didn't sign up because eHarmony sponsored the Not So Common podcast a few years ago. I hope you used my promo code to get in. And now
I think eHarmony actually did this podcast too.
Did they? Oh, okay.
I think that's how I actually know.
Then we love eHarmony.
No, but I think we had to basically log in and look. And I remember going in and
you signed up for an account.
We both had to go look at it so we could talk about it. And I remember just doing a match thing to see how it worked. And yeah, if you put basically if you're not, they look at the money, your religion, and that's what they want to know first. And that's what they use to match you. They definitely don't care if you play video games.
All right, Karen, at a convention, I want to be your wingman. We'll get it sorted out. Don't worry about it.
Miss you, Karen.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, Karen, hopefully I see you at a convention. Hopefully when we go to conventions again.
Hey guys, my girlfriend likes video games, but she's really afraid to actually play them. She's afraid they'll be too hard and that she'll suck. So what can I do to help her as a good boyfriend? Thanks.
All right, first of all, Dave, I was going to say this, Dave. This is a fine question, but he also gave 4 or 5 after this, and so you're on a time after this, Dave. You can't do 5 in a row. But the question about the girlfriends.
I think the easiest thing to do if it doesn't girlfriend, boyfriend, if you know someone who is not particularly adept at video games and wants to get into them, the first thing you should do is find a cooperative game that appeals to them and play through it with them.
Okay, play through it.
Whether it's a
bonding experience,
whether it's whether you want to go old school and pick like a beat 'em up, like a Streets of Rage or a Final Fight, and go through that with them. Or you want to play something like a Borderlands or a Diablo where you party up and fight, it's what they call PvE, player versus enemy.
So something social, something they could, it's not like just
something you can walk them through the ropes with. I think that's probably
you don't
the
want to
best.
play Call of Duty with them.
Yeah, and don't jump into a versus game. Nothing is going to deflate someone's enjoyment of something. Like constantly losing at something over and over again. Oh, you want to play a video game with me? Then play this fighting game that I play every night for months, and practice that. That's not going to get them into it. Yeah, find something that appeals to them, and look for a cooperative game.
And a lot of times, maybe they used to play, video games when they were a kid, and now they've fallen out of it, and maybe you try to get them back into like a newer version of that game. That could
figure out what they liked as kids, and see if there's something that's similar to it, today.
Sure. All right, next.
Hey guys, this is Alan from California again, and as an unironic fan of Pac-Man on the 2600 and Back to the Future on the NES, what are some games that are normally considered to be among the worst on their respective consoles that you legitimately like? Thanks.
I like Wally Bear. I like Deadly Towers.
I think we just did this a few months ago, this topic, yeah.
Yeah, I like Wally Bear. I like Deadly Towers. I can make arguments for Tom Sawyer, but people can make arguments against Tom Sawyer.
I can make arguments against Hudson Hawk.
I can find a lot of... I can pretty easily find enjoyment in cruddier games.
Sure. And we just went over this in a prior topic, but I guess... Car Warriors went at the time.
Sure.
Conasatoshiv Podrig August Ian. It's Richard here, an Irishman down under on St. Patrick's Day. So my question for the two of you is, do you celebrate Patrick's Day? And if you do, what do you normally do on that day? Love the show and keep it up. Cheers.
So we're really running behind on some.
Oh yeah,
messages.
This is getting popular. Yes, we're way behind.
Do I celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
Nice Irishman there.
So
down under.
Vonnie is a huge fan of corned beef and cabbage. Despite growing up Catholic, I never really celebrated St. Patrick's Day. I have Irish in me, but it's not something that I've ever identified with necessarily. But ever since I started dating Vonnie we're married now, but when we started dating over 10 years ago, we would always make sure to go get corned beef and cabbage. So it wasn't until I met her that I started doing anything for St. Patrick's Day.
So that's your way of celebrating.
Yeah, we get
no
the
green beer.
No.
There's no candies for St. Patrick's Day. You may buy a green hat and fucking beads or something.
I think I've gotten shit-faced on St. Patrick's Day once in my entire life.
I used to go down with Frank to, the Wednesday market. Whenever it was that Wednesday, it hit that day. He would be. I couldn't find him. I would just leave because he would be like 3 or 4 beers in, and then by that point you can't deal with them, and he's just traveling bar to bar. Then everyone starts buying Frank. They buy beer for Frank because it's Frank.
Right.
And then I hear about the next day, Frank, did you get home? Yeah. Eventually, someone got me a cab. And I'm like, but I never celebrated. I didn't care. I don't care. I have the same name. I don't necessarily get anything out of St. Patrick's Day. I hate to say it. I don't celebrate any saints' days. I don't think. Do I? I mean, Catholics. Catholics got the saints. We get basically. Here's the thing about Catholicism. We have superheroes in our sect of Christianity, the OG Christians. We get superheroes basically, but you really got to follow all the ins and outs of the different ones. But you only focus on the 3 or 4 of them. They basically have superhero powers. If you're a saint, you do miracles. That's how you become a saint. You have to have at least 2 independently, sourced miracles. It's insane. They still get them. All right, next.
Hey guys, Dan from Turnersville, New Jersey here.
Jersey.
The question is, if you could have one power from any video game, what would it be? For example, getting a health boost from a hooker in Grand Theft Auto.
Dan, I don't know why you went there. You went right there. I was looking at all of the examples. Okay. Oh, Ian, what power do you want from one video game? Had someone do eating Bubble Bobble?
I'd take Peter Pepper's power. I'd be able to throw salt and have it freeze things.
That really?
Sure.
Not salt in the eye. You freeze people. You rob a bank like Twilight Zone. You throw salt on everyone.
Yep.
Now, would that be like in your packets or just like magic salt?
Be like pocket sand from
Pocket Sand.
from
King of the Hill?
King of the Hill, yeah.
I was going to say, God, I love King of the Hill. I'm going to watch it more. I
It
haven't
is
seen
good.
enough. I don't know. I always think about that. I don't know. Well, it's just funny that what you said about, well, I guess Google 13, you know, you get your life back when you have sex, but then you know, get your life back. It goes up. I don't know. Next.
Hi, Pat and Ian. This is Paul from England.
Hi, Paul.
Due to the pandemic, the manufacturing of microchips has slowed down to the point where Nvidia and AMD can't make enough graphics cards to meet demand. Similarly, car manufacturers have shut down their factories for a few days at a time.
Yeah.
Samsung have said that they might miss the launch of their next flagship phone, and Sony and Microsoft are still struggling to get their consoles out to people months after launch. Ian, does this change your mind on the Super Switch coming out this year? Would Nintendo risk another low supply, high demand situation like they did with the NES Classic? I apologize for the loaded question because I love everything that you guys do. Keep it up. Thanks.
Paul, very polite, Paul. Love the accent.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think it does because Nintendo tends to use older tech. So I don't know what the demand is for the older tech. We saw that they had put in the order for the Samsung, I think it was screens they were talking
screens,
about.
That was a surplus on the screens. From I read it, like there's been a surplus.
There was a surplus on those,
Yeah.
and they tend to use older chipsets. So I don't know that it's necessarily going to affect them. If they were trying to make a system to compete with the PlayStation 5, yeah, obviously I think that we would be looking at delays. So I mean, I hear what you're saying. I still think it's probably likely for this year, but I do think there is a, maybe a 33% chance that it could slide into next year.
Okay, it's 2/3 chance.
2/3 chance.
I'll take the 33 there. And Paul's gonna, Paul, that was such a good question. I'll let you do 2 in a row here.
Hi, Pat and Ian. This is Paul from England. If the Super Switch is a success, can Nintendo ever go back to a normal, non-hybrid console ever again? Surely not.
Surely not. Oh, he's biasing the question. He went Chris Jericho. Ever? No, I don't think they will. I think this is now what they do. I think that's what they do. There's too much money that they've made from this, where I don't think they can risk splitting this out again. I think this is it. I think this one ecosystem is what they're going to do.
I think the one ecosystem thing is brilliant for them. I makes perfect sense. To take, come off of a disappointing console, take the success of their handhelds, fuse them both together. So I don't think they should go back or do anything different. But Nintendo does whatever the fuck Nintendo wants to do. I think the more and more it looks like Nintendo shouldn't ever do anything other than this again, the more likely it is that they're going to do something fucking weird and disappointing at some point in the future. We already read the article.
Well, this was weird to a lot of people.
It was.
Not to us, but a lot of people were like, this is weird, a hybrid?
But I don't have faith in Nintendo to stay put in one place for too long. I don't. And we read that article last week where they were already saying that any new hardware, any new console has to have some sort of innovation to it. They're going to try to shoehorn something stupid into it. I love Nintendo, but I just don't have faith in them to not do that.
Well, we're also at the point now where they're so much more open with the indie titles than they used to be, that like the 3DS was always like the more bargain titles versus that's the Switch now. You can get everything on the Switch, so you don't need to split these things out anymore. All right, we'll do 2 more here. The next one, you're going to like this next one, I believe. Actually, we'll do this other one first as it follows up on one of these things, so let's get out of the way.
Hey, Pat and Ian. This is Ryan from Iowa. I was just wondering, now I know Nintendo is very, very hard to predict, but since the Switch has been so successful in this dual Switch format, is there any way Nintendo could ever go back to just a dedicated TV console, or do you think this combo is the way forward?
Well, there you go. We just answered that. Basically.
So, no, I don't think so. I think that we may continue with Nintendo in the future to see handheld-only versions of a system, but I don't think we'll necessarily see a console-only system.
And last, we'll do this one.
This is David from New York City. I always love hearing the bagel and the pizza talk on the show, so I wanted to know, Pat, what was your favorite bagel place and favorite pizza place growing up in New Jersey? Ian, same question for you, but about growing up in Buffalo. Thank you, too.
For bagels, it was Bagel Brothers. Which
that's a great name.
Yeah, Bagel Brothers was great.
Bagel Brothers.
I believe
Super
they
Bagel
turned in. They're not around anymore. I believe they turned into Bagel J's in Buffalo, which I have not had since I've left, but I've heard very good things about it, and I'd like to try them. My favorite pizza place in Buffalo. Talk about it all the time. Bocce's Pizza Club. I think there's 3 locations now. Literally my favorite pizza in the entire world. It's just fucking perfect.
So this is a dumb answer, but it's a true answer. It's whatever. It was the local bagel place and the local pizza place with the name of the town on it.
Sure.
Because a lot of towns in New Jersey, you have that. Maybe not all bagel places, but definitely almost any town with any population in New Jersey has its mom and pop pizza, at least one pizza place.
Sure.
And they are not all the same, but the quality between most of them is close because, again, it's the water source, it's the dose ingredients. It tastes, it's head and shoulders above pizza, especially in the Midwest or West Coast. You cannot compare it. And people that say you're crazy have never had it before. That's why I want to go back to Long Island Retro Gaming Expo so badly. One of the reasons why.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just go to the local place, and here's the other thing though. The bagels in the supermarket were sourced from the either they made it there or they source it. So like you can go to the supermarket and get the bagel and they were delicious.
Yeah.
Because again, it's the ingredients and the water has different minerals and things that make it taste different, and the dough, and it's science. Bagels is science.
It's technique, but it's also the ingredients.
It's the science of what's in the water and in the dough. That it comes down to that too. The dough tastes entirely different. I have pizza here. I cannot taste a bagel or pizza that'll taste like this than in New Jersey. It'll just be impossible unless I get the water shipped across the U.S. And some places do that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't tried a place yet in San Diego that I think someone said Bronx Pizza does that. I have to try that. I hear that they get it flown in. I'll be the judge of it. I'll be the judge. But yeah, we would go to a local place. It'd be like every Sunday we get pizza. You get a pizza with pepperoni or pizza from your local place. You walk in, you'd see the old school cigarette machine.
Mm-hmm.
Or remember cigarette machines? And next to that, you had the original Street Fighter they had for some reason there. And I played that once, realized that was a mistake. And they had this stand up Outrun. That's the games they had there. And then you order a pizza, and you go back home. Then we did get Little Caesars, but again, it was the 90s in New Jersey, so the Little Caesars there was probably way better than today. It was good enough that my father would get it, even though my father was cheap. And hey, 2 pizzas for $9 is a deal.
Yeah, you can't fuck with it. You can't fuck with that.
No, because one pizza was $10, so get 2.
Yep.
And like it was good enough that I remember them being tasty enough. I mean, nowadays, no, you can't have Little Caesars out here. You'll die, or else I'll die. Will you die with Little Caesars, Ian? I had the $5 hot and ready pizza, and I think I had hallucinations.
I had a hot and ready within the past year or so. It was all right. It was fine.
Really? You succumbed to that?
It was fine.
You didn't have any see different colors?
No rainbow.
Cured your color blindness? Well, thanks for the voicemails. Well, we're gonna try to catch up. We'll do these every week. Well, I don't think we're ever gonna catch up at this point because people love this.
It's fun.